Hola guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Roxanne. If it's your first time here, then welcome. Today I want to talk to you guys about my favorite nonfiction reads. The first will be Heavy by Kiese Layman. This is a collection of essays slash memoir where he discusses everything from his weight to the morality of our nation to being a black man growing up, his complicated relationship with his mother, his education, his the sexual violence that is present in his family's life. This is a book that just does not hold back in absolutely any way, and I think that's something that you'll find in a few of my favorite nonfiction reads this year, is how heavy and how much weight they carry. I think that the title is very befitting of what you'll find within the pages of this book. I think that there are certain voices that just grip you and you sense their genius, and you just have to listen to everything that they have to say, and you must know more about them, and everything that they say just grips you, and you're enthralled by this individual and by everything that they say. I think people like James Baldwin, I think of people like Roxane Gay, those people who, when they say something, you really just sit and you listen. And I think, to me, he is one of these voices. I was so touched by everything that he talked about. I was moved, I was saddened, angered. Every impossible emotion that I could feel was evoked in me when I was reading this. I haven't stopped thinking about it since I finished it, and I think it's fitting of every accolade it has gotten. I cannot recommend it enough. It is a heavy read, and there are, like I said, there's trigger warning, definitely for sexual violence. I think perhaps domestic violence as well. It's been a while since I read it, and so I don't remember the minutia of it, but do go into it carefully. It is filled with heavy topics, and it is not an easy read, but it is one well worth it. Then we have Almost a Woman by Esmeralda Santiago. This is the second in a sort of a memoir trilogy series that she wrote, and it is about her graduating high school and sort of becoming a woman, and it is how she finds her voice, finds her agency, finds a way to balance both her own desires and her own feelings and emotions and her thoughts as a growing young woman in the streets of New York, with the tradition and the expectations that her mother has and the rest of her family has. And it's about finding love and career and finding a voice within herself, and I loved it. Still, When I Was Puerto Rican, I would say is my favorite, but I think this was a fitting sequel to that. I can't wait to read the last, which I believe is called Turkish Lover or My Turkish Lover, something along those lines. I just love Esmeralda Santiago. I love her voice. I love how honest it feels and how carefully she really wants to portray her life and her ideas and her emotions to you, and I loved it. And I'm so happy to say that, you know, we could both come from Puerto Rico. I think I'm so proud of everything that she's done, and I loved this, and I'm sure I will love the third and final one, which hopefully I will get to in the next year. Then we have In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This is another very difficult, raw, honest, that just bleeds off the page memoir about the abusive relationship that she was in with another, I believe they were both doing their post-grad work, and it's a relationship that she had with another female, and it is about how she is grappling with the truth of what happened, and sort of coming to the realization that she's a victim of everything that she had to undergo, of the difficulties of the situation in which she was placed, of the relationship that she has with her friends and her family, and how this abusive relationship impacts all of that and impacts her life. And it is how she deals with it, how she gets out of it, how she finds herself again, how she loses herself in it and then finds herself. It is just it just grips onto your heart, and you just feel so much when you're reading it. I was so upset and sad and hurt for her, and I couldn't put it down at the same time. I just needed to hear more of her words. She's such a beautiful, poetic, eloquent, and very original writer. There is something so new and fresh about her voice as well, even while she's talking to you about something that causes so much pain and which is so heavy. I love her voice. I love her writing. I can't wait to see what else she continues to come out with. I love this. It's a weird thing to say, obviously, about a book of this topic, but that I appreciate so much what she wrote and what she was able to share with us, and I recommend it from the bottom of my heart. But again, another difficult one, so be in the right state of mind before you pick it up. We have Good Talk by Mira Jacobs. This is a graphic memoir in which she discusses the difficulties of having these good talks, these deep talks with specifically her son is what brings on the sort of desire to write this, to write and draw for this and create this graphic memoir. But it really also discusses the different conversations that she's had throughout her whole life that are difficult and that discuss topics that are very important to her and which have a large significance on her life and how she views her place within this world and her place within her family. This is perhaps the best graphic memoir that I've ever read. I loved how eloquently she's able to put down, especially through this medium, the different nuances of these types of conversations, of everything from colorism to gender identity to race. All of these topics which are difficult to discuss and which at times you are speaking into a void or speaking to people who really are not going to understand you or are so destined and determined to not understand you, and how much that weighs on you, and how sometimes the people that you love believe things that are so against who you are as a person fundamentally, and the betrayal that you feel. This is just really a book about those difficult conversations that we all should be having and do have throughout our life. I sometimes have difficulty expressing myself when we talk about these very difficult situations. There are things that I think, but I have difficulty expressing them, and I feel like this is such a great book in which she was able to get so much of that down on paper and share it with her audience. And I am so glad that I finally read this, and I cannot recommend this enough. I think if you love graphic memoirs, if you love memoirs, if you love books about social issues, I would pick this up, definitely. Last but not least, we have The Undocumented Americans by Carla Cornejo Villavicencio. This book talks about the different immigrant lives and experiences, but it does so in such a unique way, in that it talks about different immigrant experiences that are different than the norm of what we're used to seeing in either books or news articles or documentaries. I felt like she found ways to talk about something in such a new way, in such a sharp and raw way, and she really just did not hold back in absolutely any way. She is able to tell us about herself through her experiences and her connections with these individuals as she's learning about their life to share then with us. And I think she does it all in such an honest and heartfelt way. You can tell how much she cares for these individuals, how her heart just pours out for them, and how she just wants you to be able to sense that as well, and to understand their suffering or their emotions, how grateful they might be, how sad, how lonely they might feel. All of these very human emotions that come along with the difficulties of being an immigrant in a nation that so often turns its back on you and is blinded to your worth. And I think she does such an amazing job at that, at reminding us the worth of these individuals, so much more so than in the quantitative ways that people argue for pro-immigration, you know, not their economic impact on our nation, or the jobs that they provide, not in those ways that can be so dehumanizing, but she really does just show their complexity, their human worth, and she just lays it all out for you in such a beautiful way. Everything that this book needed to be, it was perfect. I loved it so much. I'm so glad that it's getting the attention that it deserves. I want more people to read it. It is probably one of the most honest things that I have read in a long time, and I'm so glad that I read it. Those are my favorite nonfiction reads of this year. I hope that you had the best year you possibly could have. I hope that you read some good ones this year as well, some good nonfiction reads. If you have read any of these and loved them or hated them, let me know down below. We can talk about them. Let me know what some of your favorite nonfiction reads of this year have been. I hope that the last few days of this year are as good as they can possibly be to you, and that we all have an amazing new year. I think we all deserve it. So thank you for sticking around with me. Thank you for watching and for listening. I love you guys very much.